My question for you, and I think you kind of alluded to your answer already prior, but Beckham versus Messi. Which move was more important to MLS?
That's a tough question because one of them hasn't actually happened yet. That being
Sure.
said, that being said, Messi. So Beckham was a top 20 player, I think. I don't know. Again, he was he was massive when I was 5. I don't know. I could go back and there are arguments, whatever. What I do know is Messi is massive now, and he's not top 20 massive. He is top 2 massive, maybe top 1 massive. It's a no brainer, right? And that's not to discredit anything that David did. David, as we mentioned, is the reason we are where we are today. Messi in 10 years is going to be the reason where we get to. And that is what's important to remember. So I won't say which one is better until they're both done, but I have a feeling in 2033 this conversation is a lot easier. That's what I'll say.
Good cop out. That's the answer with no answer. Uh, I'll go with the hot take on this one. I think Beckham's move is more important. I think Messi's move is bigger right now, and I think it has the potential to be more important, especially if he can get the league to change roster rules and get them to be more flexible. I think that would be a massive win for this league because I think it'll grow even more exponentially if that's the case. But considering the status of the league when Beckham joined versus where MLS is now when Messi is joining, I feel like you alluded to it in the past, but wasn't there like potential that the whole league could fold prior to Beckham joining? Like, weren't there major potential issues with the league?
To my understanding, and I need to reread the book, in 2001, the league folded for like 5 days. Everybody just walked away and said, this isn't worth it. And I think it was the two main guys, the AEG group and one other. I got to reread the book, who basically brought everybody back to the table and said, listen, we'll pick up the last, 20% or whatever it is and help you guys out. Stick around. And this is where our plan is going, and saved it from folding. So, yeah, it had very, very high potential of dropping in.
Right. If Messi doesn't join MLS today, the league is still growing. Granted, it will grow at a much slower pace. The league is still in good shape, and it's not, I mean, knock on wood, it's not going to fold. I think Beckham honestly potentially saved the league and put us in a position where we could even get Messi in the future. Not to mention, it's Beckham's franchise that brought Messi here. I don't know if Messi would come here if Beckham was not an owner of Miami. There's still a chance, obviously, but I think the chance decreases. So Beckham joining the league and doing everything he did in terms of changing rules, helping to grow the game, keeping it alive, and then bringing in a franchise that is so attractive that it brings in the arguably the greatest player in the history of the sport to the country, who now could potentially get a franchise in the future, and then just do the whole process again. Beckham attracted Messi to MLS. Who knows who Messi could attract to MLS if he has a franchise in the future? But to me, it all kickstarted with Beckham coming over, which I think was just massive. It it didn't work out this way, but it kind of reminded me of when Amari Stoudemire came to the Knicks. He was the first big name player to make a move to New York. Nobody else wanted to touch the franchise because they were such a disorganized mess. And after he came over, then it was like, okay, now maybe this is a place that we should consider. So I think right now Beckham's is more important, but I think Messi's has the potential to be more important.
It's a really interesting conversation, and one that, as I mentioned, we can't really have until it's over. But I think you're right. I think the impact of the risk versus reward of the Beckham deal is it way, 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 way outweighs the risk reward of not bringing Messi in. Messi goes to Saudi Arabia, we go on. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing happens. I mean, something happens. We continue to go at our pace, and that's fine. However, I think what this does, and I talked about it a little bit before, but just the money he's going to bring in, right? From ticket sales, from jersey sales. I mean, it's millions and millions and millions of dollars. And because we're that single entity, because it's not all going right back to Inter Miami, because all of the teams pitched in to bring him here, you would assume, and we all know Daddy Don is somebody that you never want to assume things about. However, if we were to assume that because everybody pitched in, everybody's going to get a cut of what just happened, we're now putting ourselves a little bit more we're getting ourselves a little bit more of a buffer between the risk of doing something versus the trying to think of the right words here. This is how you know this is a non-planned on the spot emergency pod, because we do not have everything spot on. Like the risk versus lack of reward of doing something and having it fail versus needing to keep things a little bit closer so that we can continue to go on. All that money coming from Messi will allow us more flexibility. I think that's the way I want to put that. Where if Messi brings in $30 billion, again, hyperbole, but he brings in $30 billion and $1 billion goes to every club, now they have $1 billion to say, okay, I can go sign one more big designated player and get away with it. I can go, or MLS as a whole can say, hey, we're not going to give you all that money, but what we're going to do is we're going to raise the spending in the salary cap to $25-30 million. And we will pay for everybody except your 3 designated players. Go fill out the middle of your roster with this much money now. Now they can say that, and teams can take a flyer on a, 27, 28-year-old South American who's deciding between Europe and us and say, hey, we've got the money to do it. Let's see if we can get you over here. That's what this is about. This isn't about Messi making the league more competitive. It's about Messi for 2 years giving us enough capital to say we can now take a risk. And that's what I think people aren't recognizing, at least in my opinion. I might be wrong. You're more than happy to tell me I'm wrong. Not Connor, of course, just our listeners. Connor can't tell me I'm wrong. But you could think that this is exactly, it's only brought in so Inter Miami can win cups, or the owners can just get richer, or blah, blah. I don't care. Because the way I see it is this move is a business strategic move to allow us to make decisions in the future. So that's just me.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I think he will exponentially increase the growth of this league. And I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. So